Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Starfield video, our first one post-launch, in fact. So, for those of you who are still waiting to jump into the game, then here is a little video on character creation to help you get the best start you possibly can. Okay, so yeah, character creation involves a look at, well, employee records first up, after you are knocked out and wake up. Across the top we can see the overview. Biometric ID, this is your starting point, and from there you customize body, face, background and traits. So we've got 40 different starting characters, basically, starting looks. Go all the way down at the other end here, if I can. There's number one. If we sort of jump through these a little bit, you can see it alternates between male and female. A range of different looking folks. There's some cool stuff here that you can play around with if you like. Definitely an upgrade over Bethesda's previous games. I think this is probably my favourite character creator yet. There's more you can do, and it's really fun. You do a lot of cool stuff with it. So, on to body next. As you can see, we've got a couple of options. So you can, much like with Bethesda's previous games, decide how muscular, thin, or heavy you want to be to varying degrees. Just grab this one in the middle, move it around. So we can go heavy if we like. We can go skinny as, like you're gonna break if you pick up anything too heavy. It's supposed to be muscular. Actually, weirdly, I'm not that sold on the muscular thing. Somebody's been doing a lot of squats there. But we can also go body types here. So you've got a more masculine body type with 1, or a more feminine one with 2, if you prefer that look. Walk style is quite cool. This is a feature we didn't get in previous games. We've got a more masculine walk, which is there, and a slightly more feminine one there, if you prefer that. And for skin tones, well, we've got... how many options have we got? 9 options, from pretty dark, and I think you need to really look at the arms and legs here more than the face, because there's other options affecting that. All the way down to, you can imagine, Mr. A4 over here. So, onto there, and now we get into the facial stuff. Now, this is extensive, and I'm going to go through this reasonably swiftly, because you'll probably want to have a play around with it, or if you don't want to, you can pick a standard one, I suppose. But it's once you've got the hang of it, it's just a case of playing with it until you find a look that you like. So, for skin tone, we've already looked at that. This is the same slider. For head shapes, we've got a whole set of different ones. You can go across here, and go with a bunch of different presets. Basically the same head, but slightly morphed. And if we hit the refined key, which is E here on PC, it takes us over to activate this section. Now, if I go back a bit, then, yeah, we start off over here, and a number of different things have sections here where you can further refine the part of your appearance that you're modifying. So there's a number of different ones, but the refined key always jumps you over to this section of the menu. So we go more square, more round, wider or thinner. So kind of just shifts the emphasis, really. Got some really big, big brain, narrow chin thing going on there. Obviously in the middle, go thinner, go wider. To be honest, somewhere fairly central generally looks good, unless you want to go crazy big. But hair, whole lot of different hairstyles, ranging from nothing through some varying balding options. Oh, I should say, by the way, this is a good time to zoom out a little bit. Now, we've got mouse 2 here. It's not actually mentioned on the zoom, but it is. Same button as rotate here, and then in the case of the mouse, you move it backwards and forwards instead of side to side. I would imagine it's much the same with a controller. There we go. A whole different range of hairstyles. It's basically the same irrespective of whether or not you go for a more male or female look. You can put any hairstyle on any character. So we get the general idea. That'll do. I'll stick with that for now. Obviously, hair colour. We can go from more generalised colours that you'd expect to see, all the way up to some more wacky and out there colours if you want to go down that road as well. Facial hair, decent number of settings there. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are, yeah, definitely a bit iffy. Some that I like more than others for sure. You can change facial hair colour, same as with your regular hair colour. And you can do the same with the eyebrows as well. We've got eye settings. Here we get a bit more interesting because we can change different eye types. Stick with the basic one for now. So if we hit the refine, we've got more options. So you've got the sort of larger scale ones, like moving them up and down, or making them narrower or wider apart. Somewhere in the middle there. You could scale down and up is basically making them bigger or smaller. It's not necessarily expressing itself that clearly, I don't think. It doesn't change vastly, at least not with this set, but nonetheless, you can adjust them. And with back and forward, if we go side on here, you can see it's how recessed your eyes are. So, we've got all of that. But this kind of merges different combinations of eye styles, so there's an emphasis on 9 here. Whereas if I pull this one across, the 9 will go down, and the eye shape will change a little bit. So you can play around with that as much or as little as you like. And there's quite a whole bunch of things that have these kind of settings to them, so there's a lot of stuff that we can do if we want to. And then obviously all the settings you'd expect down here, got some jewellery options. The thermostatic stuff's interesting, because it's kind of... I mean, it's not a word I've come across before, to be honest, but it affects different kind of skin textures and stuff that you can adjust all over the face as a whole, although the emphasis varies somewhat. And for the refine option on this one, all we've got is the intensity, which is much like with some of the makeup stuff, only that would also include colours too on those. Texture for your skin, basically, this one. Blemishes, scars, facial forms. There's 2 of these. It's the same thing, but you can select 2 different ones. So there's a whole lot of stuff around the eyes there. And there's a load of stuff on the cheeks as well. So I could say, right, I'm going to go for that on the eyes, give them some crow's feet. And then we've got the same settings coming up again if you really want to intensify it. Or I could go with giving him a bit of a pop-up face or something. So a lot of stuff returning from Fallout here, but... giving you more details and options with it as well. Okay, so for the purposes of today's exercise, I think this will do for our dude's look. Obviously, you can play around with that as much as you like. I spent quite a long time on my characters I intended to keep, and if you're not entirely happy or you want to get through this quickly and get into the game, there are a number of places in the major cities you can go to change your visual appearance, basically whatever you like for a small fee. However, background and traits, these you won't be able to change after initial creation, so bear that in mind. So here's our guy. So backgrounds, we have to pick a background, but it gives us 3 starting skills, and depending on how much you want to lean into the story side of it, or just picking skills you like, you can kind of make your decision based on either one, really. So Beast Hunter has fitness, which increases your oxygen, which basically is stamina. Lung capacity and oxygen is basically stamina in this game. Ballistics for ballistic weapons, gastronomy for cooking, and obviously you've got hunting various creatures all over the settled systems. Bouncer worked at nightclubs and beat people up. Not quite sure why they'd have security other than, you know, the use of the word, because security is basically lockpicking, boxing obviously being unarmed combat, and fitness is, once again, back to oxygen. These don't all have unique perks. They have combination of starting perks, because there are 25 basic perks that can come up, I think, thereabouts. So Bounty Hunter, oddly no combat skills on this one, which is odd. Targeting control systems is to do with space combat, so you target specific systems on a ship. And piloting obviously is how well you can pilot a ship and how big a ship you can pilot, so you're probably going to need this. Maybe not too early, but you're going to need it eventually. Boost pack training is an absolute must, because jetpacks are useful for certain quests and make traversal much better as well, and just add a lot of fun. So I would really recommend considering something with boost pack training. You can be a chef, which we saw back at Starfield Direct. So we've got dueling here. This is melee combat. And scavenging, which is digging credits out of stuff, really. This is actually not too well explained, but it's finding more credits in containers. Combat medic, so pistols, medicine, and wellness is having more health for yourself, basically a bigger health pool. Cyber runner, so this is more of a stealthy thief build. This is basically a thief build to start with, or starting point, so stealth, security for lockpicking, and theft for picking pockets. Cyberneticist, this is an interesting one. Upgrading your body with cybernetics. Just how much of this you can actually do, I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't seem to be a lot, but maybe some of the higher skills sort of affect that more. But generally speaking, you're looking at healing yourself, security for hacking into things, and laser weapons. Laser weapons are pretty good and worth considering, I have to admit. Ballistics, a bit more common, definitely good as well. Having a range of different damage type outputs is not a bad idea. So persuade, this is quite a good one. Diplomat, oh come on. If you want diplomat, if you want to go for a more talky favouring build, you've got commerce for your buying and selling skills, wellness is your health, and persuasion is definitely a skill worth having. And then you can, get more credits out of people, get them to let you in places they wouldn't otherwise do. Generally succeed in persuading people. There's a fun new persuasion skill system in Starfield, so definitely worth having a look at that. Explorer. You'd think that would be fitting for Constellation, and in some ways it is. It's somewhat similar to skills that a lot of the companions have, and you can borrow their skills. There's a whole system around that. But it's not a bad point. You'll be doing a lot of surveying. It's kind of useful, and it gives you basically gives you the ability to zoom in as well as discover things you wouldn't otherwise be able to discover when you're walking around. Astrodynamics extends your ship's jump range, so you can reach further away systems with fewer jumps. And lasers, laser weapons. Gangster. This one doesn't massively appeal to me. I'm sure it will to some though. Shotguns and boxing. I feel like one or the other would be more useful. I don't think I'd spec into two types of close quarters weapons personally. But there you go. If you especially want specialization shotguns or boxing or thievery. Homesteader. I've tried this one out. In second thoughts, it seems like a good one if you want to go for a lot of base building. I'm not quite as convinced it was the right choice, to be honest. Now look at it. Geology for extracting minerals is useful, but it's probably not going to lead to the most efficient way of doing things. I haven't looked that far down the skill tree, but maybe one to consider later on. Surveying is useful. Weightlifting is your carry weight, though, and the ability to carry more stuff. You don't have a lot to start off with, so this is definitely a worthwhile skill to consider. Industrialist. A lot of people seem to like this one, and I can kind of see why. Lockpicking, persuasion, and your research methods basically means that when you're researching upgrades for weapons and armor and other stuff, then you can do that at the cost of fewer materials. So that's not a bad one, but it's a pretty decent combo there, although again, no combat. Long hauler is your space trucking, so you've got ballistic weapons on your ships. They come with lasers, ballistic weapons, missiles, and pulse weapons, and there are different skills for each of them, so that's one of them. Piloting, always useful. Weightlifting, also always useful for carrying stuff. Pilgrim is an exploration-based one. Again, food, scanning, and finding more credits. Not terrible. Not particularly exciting, I don't think. Professor isn't bad either if you ever want to go down the geology and research methods route. Astrodynamics, handy for that jump range, but again, it's more about scanning, and you can make quite a lot of credits from scanning planets and getting resources, so it's not a bad way of doing it that way. Ronin. This is good if you want to be a sneaky melee type, but it also kind of adapts to other things as well. Obviously, it's supposed to imply the samurai, and I believe there are samurai swords in this game. But scavenging for digging up credits as well, and you can kind of take that any way you like. You've got a bit of a backstory there. Sculptor's a bit of an odd one, but if you want to go geology, medicine, and persuasion, and want to be an artistic type, not quite sure how that ends up with you in the situation you're in at the start of the game, though, but I suppose you can kind of make that one up. Soldier. This is quite a good starting one, if not particularly exciting. It tends to lean towards the United Colonies, in implying that you were a soldier on their side of the faction spectrum. So you might want to bear that in mind if you want to lean towards Neon or Freestar Collective. But nonetheless, soldier's not bad. Ballistics is useful to have. Boost pack training is very useful to have. I should also mention, you cannot use a boost pack unless you have the skill. So it's very, very worth picking that up. As I say, you need it for quests. So definitely a skill I would recommend. Fitness for greater stamina is definitely not a bad thing either. This is not a bad one. I did start with this one. It's not massively exciting, I don't think, but it is a pretty solid starting point. Space Scoundrel, pistols, piloting, and persuasion if you want to be Han Solo. Definitely not bad. Xenobiologist. Lasers, surveying of fitness, so we've got laser weapons, scanning, and finding resources, and fitness for, again, running further. Basically, in case those creatures you are scanning decide they don't like you, you can run away quicker. So that's quite fun. And last but not least, we have File Not Found, which gives you health, ballistics, and piloting. And this is a very good, strong start as well, if you're not too bothered about having any special background. All of the others will give you special dialogue relating to your background at various occasions throughout the game. File Not Found won't. but it does give you a decent set of starting skills. The one thing that personally I feel is missing from this is an option to pick your own starting traits. Some variation on file not found that lets you just say, I want this, this, and this. For example, you could choose to drop, any of these, just drop ballistics and go for lasers, or drop piloting and go for jetpacks, which wouldn't be a terrible idea, and pick piloting up later. Wellness is worth having, but you might want carry weight instead. So yeah, good starting set of skills, but with no background. If you want to learn more about the game and then pick a specific background on a subsequent playthrough, this might not be a bad place to start for you. So, traits. These are entirely optional. You can pick none or up to 3, any combination thereof you like, and some of these do lock you out of other ones, but these give you a little bit more flavour for your character, and they have an advantage and a disadvantage usually. So alien DNA, for example, here, you volunteered for a controversial experiment that combines alien and human DNA, so you have increased health and oxygen, but healing and food items aren't as effective. Kind of an even balance there. Dream home. This is an interesting one that's worth talking about. You own a luxurious, customizable house on a peaceful planet. Yep, it's not too far to get to either. And it comes with a 125,000 credit mortgage with Galbank that has to be paid weekly. This last bit is not correct. It does not have to be paid weekly. In fact, you have the option to foreclose if you want to get rid of this perk. Each of these, by the way, these traits can be gotten rid of some way or another. In this case, it's foreclosing. But yeah, you're not paying this off weekly. You basically have to earn the money and go and pay it off as a lump sum. So this is not actually correct. As you do find out when you get in game, but I feel like that's worth mentioning. Empath, so that when you're traveling with companions, if you do something your companion likes, you get a buff. If you do something they don't, you get a debuff. Extrovert, if you're traveling with humans, you have more stamina, basically. And introvert, which is the other one, is when you're traveling without human companions, which presumably means it works with Vasco, because he's a robot, not a human, then you get increased oxygen there. But you can only have one of these. So Freestyle Collective Settler here is the first of the faction-related perks you can take, and it will give you a whole load of dialogue options, which basically relate to being part of the Freestyle Collective. But the price you pay for that is if you are within any other faction's territory and you commit some sort of crime, the consequences will be correspondingly heavier. And this also applies to the other ones. So that will be Neon Street Rat, which again is the Neon version. Or there is United Colonies Native, if you want to be a native of New Atlantis, or that area. And again, you'll be part of that faction, kind of. I don't think it naturally makes you a UC citizen, because that's a different thing. I think it makes you just a general native. But, again, if you're then in Freestyle Collective space and get up to no good, they're not going to like that. And they're going to like it even less, in fact. So, Hero Worshipped. This one comes back from Oblivion, back in the day. You get the attention of an annoying, adoring fan who will show up and randomly jabber at you incessantly. But he'll join your crew and give you gifts. So it's an extra companion if you want him, and you can live with him. I personally did not want to take that one, but certainly long-time Bethesda fans will like to see this, I think. Introvert we've already touched on. Kid stuff. Your parents are alive and well, and you can visit them at home, but you automatically send 2% of your credits home every week. This does actually work every week. But they give you gifts, they give you various bits and pieces, and there's kind of like mini quests attached to the going and visiting your parents. It's really cool. The appearance of your parents is based somewhat on the appearance of your character, as with previous games. For like Fallout 4, the baby is somewhat based on the appearance that you make for your character. In Fallout 3, your father looks sort of like you, that sort of thing. Well, in this case, your parents look sort of like you here as well. So that's quite cool. This is worth having if you've got a slot for it, I think. I actually quite like this one. It's a nice storyline, plus there's cool rewards for it as well. Raised Enlightened is the first religious trait. Now, there are 3 religions here, Enlightened, Universal, and Serpent's Embrace. The Enlightened are basically atheists, but they believe in helping their fellow man as basically a religion. And there's a chest inside their church, for want of a better word, their temple, where you can go in and just help yourself to basically some meds and stuff. Raised Universal, well, the Universalists believe that God is out there somewhere, and they also have a chest inside their church, also in New Atlantis, Sanctum Universum. Once you head in there, you can find it, help yourself. Serpent's Embrace is a bit different, but all 3 of these lock the other 2 out, by the way. This one relates to House Varun and their worship of the Great Serpent. Now, most of House Varun are enemies, but you might be able to do something about that with Serpent's Embrace perk. but you have to keep regularly grav jumping or you will take a debuff to your health and your stamina, basically, your oxygen. So, interesting if you want to go and roleplay a bit of a cultist type, but yeah, not for everybody, I suspect. Space is... Space and terra firma, in fact. These are a pair. You pick one, you can't have the other. Space means more health and oxygen, stamina, in space and on space stations and so on and so forth. Terra firma is the same thing but on planets, whereas you have decreased health and oxygen when you're in space, or on planets in this case. Taskmaster makes your crew more efficient at repairing systems on your ship, but hiring crew costs twice as much. There are crew members you don't, and companions basically you don't have to hire to put onto your ship, but you will probably want to hire them later. By the time you're doing so, you'll probably have enough credits that it being twice as expensive is not such a bad thing. But early on, credits are at a bit of a premium. So United Colonies Native we talked about already, and the last one we've got then is Wanted, which is worth noting because somebody put a price on your head and word is spread. Occasionally, armed mercenaries show up and try to kill you. Yeah, basically some guys will pop up every so often and try and murder you, just out of the blue. And you have to defend yourself. There are specific dialogues attached to this, dialogue choices rather. But the other side of it is it works much like a bloodied build in Fallout, which is that when your health is low, you do extra damage. So there you go. And you can pick a combination of 3 of these. And then, of course, from there, we hit the finish button in the bottom right. We select the background to continue. I did select the background, didn't I? Yeah, okay, I didn't. On to finishing. So I can pick a name. Test Dude. There we go. Extremely exciting. Depending on the name you pick, and have a look around online because you'll find a full list, Vasco will say a lot of names. This is not going to be one of them, but he will say a lot of names if you would like to go down that road. So, yeah, have a look around online. You'll find a number of articles covering the full list of names you can say. So, if you want to pick from that, some of them are surnames, some of them are first names, and if you have a first and surname, if you can say the surname, then he'll pick that one, that sort of thing. He calls you Captain, whatever it might be. So, once you've pressed the confirm button from naming your character, whatever it might be, A on controller, I think, and enter on keyboard, you get up with a whole load of options here. You can rename, you can change your pronoun, you can confirm, or you can go back. The pronoun, pick that one up, just lets you toggle between the different 3 sets of pronouns. Not that extensive, but simply adding one set will have massively upped the amount of dialogue options and stuff they had to record for most characters, so it's good that they did this, because that will have cost them a not inconsiderable sum to include, but I'm really happy to see that, so that's really cool. But yeah, I'm going down this road. Well, actually, I'm not, because I'm not going to press confirm, because, well, I'll leave it to you to find out what happens after that. But there you go, character creation. So, I think this is a really good character creator. I think it's probably the best one Bethesda have done so far. Just without really trying at all, I quite like the look of this dude. He looks quite cool. And if I put some more time into it, I could already make him way more interesting without too much difficulty either. So yeah, there we go. Thank you folks very much for watching. I do hope those of you who have yet to jump in found this useful, and anybody else who felt like watching it enjoyed it anyway. So thank you very much for all that. If you do want to support the channel, please do check out social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that good stuff down below. It does help out. I hugely appreciate it. Join us for live streams as well. We are playing Starfield. We are playing Fallout 76. Those are our 2 big things at the moment. So do join us for those. I hope to see you there. But for now, I'll say a massive thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.